This is critical because if this is missing and you start to market, you start to go out there, you're gonna be hurting. You're not gonna get the amount of results you get. You're not going to get the best bang for your buck. It's not gonna go as far. And then this helps you in every area of life. This helps you with communicating with your spouse, with your kids, trying to convince them to eat their vegetables, convince them to go to school if they don't want to. Yes, this is all walks of life. Hello everyone, welcome to the Ultimate 2021 Dental Marketing Guide to get more patients. The reason I wanted to make this video in the first place is I have a lot of videos on my channel that longest maybe being 20 minutes. You can only go so far in such a short amount of time. And so this video, I want to kind of give you everything, kind of go over the everything from the foundation of marketing to some of the things you need before you even market, to specifics with advertising, talking about Google ads, Facebook ads, and then on top of that, even talking about the sales system that's necessary to close patients, to convert them to care if they need to do so in an ethical manner. So this is going to be everything. So really excited today to jump into it. I know my computer kind of flickers once in a while. Maybe Halloween's getting a little closer, so maybe it's some spooky something like that, or maybe just a technical issue on my part. The choice is yours. Anyway, let's jump right into why you should listen to me in the first place. First of all, great question. This is really a video that I wanted to make for even some of my clients. I have clients around the US, worked with a lot of different dentists in different scenarios, ranging from anywhere from just opening their practice right out the gate, trying to set up systems, at the same time as trying to get their first couple of Google reviews, to dentists that are expanding. You know, they have 5, maybe 6 practices, and they're just trying to pick up another one each month, or excuse me, every 6 months. So I've seen just about any situation that you could be in as a dentist. I've worked with specialists. I worked with, pediatric dentists to implant specific dentists to, just the general bread and butter patient dentists. So really wanted to make this applicable to anyone. If you're in the place where you want to grow your practice, you don't really know where to look, where to start, this is something I wanted to share with you. So results. So I'm going to share some of the results that I got for a campaign. Me and my team got for a campaign in New York State. I have the little, here it is. So we got from just under $2,900 in ad spend, 60 leads. This is for a specific, this specific campaign was done on Facebook with a service called ManyChat. And we really were targeting people that wanted single implants. So people that were looking for, just 1 to 2 implants, something that a lot of, I've talked to some dentists, usually the full arch cases aren't what they really want, believe it or not. A lot just want a single implant case. A lot easier to manage. You don't need to work with the hassle of trying to find the extreme case where someone needs like 2 full arches, just their entire mouth totally redone. So this was his situation. Just wanted to point that out there because I know some dentists want just single implant patients, some want full arch cases. So this is applicable to anyone. So 20 leads can easily turn into 1 to 2 patients for this dentist in particular. He was charging about $3,800 per implant. So with 60 leads, 1 to 2 turning into a patient, this was very profitable for him. So that being said, wanted to kind of share where I thought most of you were at this point in your practice. I actually wrote a typical day in the life of a dentist, if you will, or kind of like a biography. So let me know if you can relate to this. So hi there, my name is Dr. McCormick. I live in Blacksburg, Virginia, and I'm a dentist. I have a wife who's my college sweetheart. I really went into detail here. I have 2 kids, Ryan and Olivia. I recently completed training allowing me to place implants. I've owned my practice for almost 3 years. I bought it from a previous owner and worked with him on just over 2 years. So Blacksburg is a good town for with a rising population. I'm at the stage in my practice where I really want to scale. I see a lot of potential with implants, especially in my region. In terms of increasing the number of new patients, I've worked with a handful of marketing agencies, even the ones that every time I sign on to LinkedIn, I get messages from so-called dental marketers. Every time I open my email, I have another email promise me 50 new patients a month. I want to expand my practice, but I'm not sure who to trust. Most seem shady with little experience and results. I want someone who is established with a proven track record. The biggest reason I stopped marketing with other companies is lack of ROI. I just don't get the number of patients that were promised, and a few good months here, but eventually it tapers off. There's not a lot of consistency or dependability with their new patient flows that they bring in. So our practice is profitable for some months, but it's been tighter in some than in others, if that makes sense. So this is typically, I kind of wrote this from the perspective of someone who is just getting into the implant space. I know a lot of dentists are typically have a lot of choice when it comes to picking the cases that they want. So share a little more here. So there was a lack of communication and transparency, which leads me to believe that the promises that the company made weren't all that they cracked up to be. I've been burned, betrayed by marketing companies in the past. Most of them don't necessarily do what they say, and the leads they bring me are low quality, meaning they're price shoppers. They're people who don't want treatment when they bring it up. They're just most concerned about price. And then I have a statement here. This is medicine. This isn't Craigslist or McDonald's. Yeah, so just wanted to really hit at what I see a lot of dentists in this space getting at when it comes to marketing. And then I continue. I didn't spend all this time in school to work with people that don't necessarily value their teeth. They don't see the value in really getting the work done that they need, that would be necessary for them to improve their quality of life. So this is important. I just wanted to stress that here. Wanted to maybe shed a little bit more light. I know a lot of dentists, especially signing a 10-year lease, have their overhead over 50%. So some months, especially for the younger dentists, are tighter than others because you're worried about student loans. You're worried about paying all those bills, keeping your overhead down, managing your staff, and at the same time trying to bring some more people in. So this is meant to really just kind of give you all the keys to the kingdom, if you will. This is really meant to just share everything that I know about marketing. Hopefully, there's a few things in particular I want to share that I feel would be most beneficial. This obviously isn't everything that I know about marketing. I'd be a little bit longer. Maybe I'll do a longer video or more condensed video. If you guys want in the future, feel free to suggest that in the comment section below. So before we even think about marketing, we need to figure out if you should even market in the first place. So stop right there. Yes. So this is what I feel a lot of dentists kind of struggle with, especially when it comes to them not seeing the patients that they want to see. Most of the time, not most of the time, there is a majority. I would say, in my opinion, there's probably 30% of dentists out there that shouldn't be marketing in the first place. Let me go into more of what that looks like here. How should you even market in the first place? I like to use this analogy of a house. When you're building a house, before you pick out the furniture, before you decide what color to paint the walls, you got to build the house. You got to lay the foundation. You need to, put up the trusses. I know nothing about building houses, so maybe we should have picked another analogy. But you need to lay the foundation. You need to frame it. You need to put in some insulation, drywall, etc. Before you can even think about putting some of the other tools on it, if you will. So when this applies to dentistry, what are those necessary things that we need in order to start marketing in the first place? So I like to kind of summarize this as a strategy. First point I want to get into is this concept of compelling people. So this book here was written by two Harvard professors. They really stress the importance of projecting warmth and cold at the same time. Now, the reason this relates to dentistry is if you want to be compelling, if you want to attract the right type of patients, if you want people to refer you, you want people to sign up for care, you want to increase, your case acceptance rate, then you need to be compelling. And this is not to say that you need to be misleading in any way or manipulative, but you need to be aware of how you're coming off to other people, especially if you want to help them in the first place. So compelling people, this whole story, this whole book, it really encompasses, really looks at socialites, it looks at presidents, trying to figure out, what did John F. Kennedy do well? What did Bill Clinton do well? Oprah Winfrey, to name a few, that really made them compelling. So they discovered that it's over the slides. Oh, well. So this is Warren Buffett. He is a multi-billionaire, as well as this man here, who is Warren Buffett's business partner, Charlie Munger. So Charlie Munger, when he was young, I think this was in the 90s, he gave a talk or presentation at Harvard. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. If you just type in Charlie Munger, cognitive biases, Harvard, it will come up. It's probably an hour and some change. Highly suggest that speech that he gives. So in it, he lists a number of cognitive biases or heuristics in which the human mind makes decisions, kind of shortcuts to make things easier. So it doesn't have to use an insane amount of energy to make simple decisions. In a lot of ways, those heuristics or those biases serve us to kind of eliminate the ability to, I don't need to think about tying my shoe. I don't need to, think about brushing my teeth. It just it's so ingrained in us. But in some cases, there's things that are ingrained in us that don't really serve us. So he listed these, there's 25 of them, and really went over, why you should pay attention to these. So as a dentist, you need to be aware of psychology. You need to be aware of these cognitive biases, how you're coming across to your patients. So this is one of the books that Charlie Munger suggested in his speech. Robert Cialdini influenced. This is a classic business psychology book. Highly recommend it. In it, he also talks about a bunch of cognitive biases. The reason this is important, as I said, is if you truly want to grow your practice, if you want to be the best dentist in your state, in the nation, you need to be aware of these things, and you need to use them not only to your advantage, but you need to be aware of how other people are not using it against you, but just using it and how you're being influenced it, even on a day-to-day basis, if you will. So one of the strongest biases they talk about are liking and disliking bias. Now, if you can be the smartest, I see this all the time, you can be the smartest dentist, you can be top 1% in your class, you can give literally the best work that you can, but if you are, if you're just a jerk to your patients, patients vote with their feet. They're not going to pay any attention to you. You could do great work, but if you're being about it, if you come off as cold, indifferent, maybe a little distant, then it's going to be really difficult. You probably should have worked in a lab. But anyway, so this is important to keep aware of, especially the liking bias. So not only does the disliking work, but also the liking. So if you don't necessarily have to be a people person, but if you're good at connecting with people and they sense that you care, you're able to see things from their perspective. When they come in and they want a root canal, you're able to verbalize why they want the root canal in the first place, and you're able to communicate that you understand them, then it's a lot more likely for them to sign up for care. But in terms of liking bias, people tend to overlook flaws in other people if they like them. We see this with JFK. I don't know if he actually had an affair with Marilyn Monroe. I don't know how good of a president he actually was, like on paper, but if everyone loves him because of his charisma and his ability to communicate over the TV. I think he was one of the first presidents to really utilize the television. I think that's why he won the race against the other person. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Anyway, so liking and disliking bias. A couple other biases that you need to be aware of are reward bias, anchoring, urgency, and scarcity. Now, every marketing presentation talks about urgency and scarcity for good reason. It affects us. It's important for you to understand that. How are you using it in your practice in an ethical way? Because that's important. But anyway, anchoring and rewarding, these two are often overlooked. Excuse me, especially when you're presenting a case, you need to master anchoring. You need to master the perception of value in the eyes of the patient. When it comes to presenting an implant case, especially if you are trying to pitch something that's, maybe you're doing a full arch and it's $40,000, and you come out with your best price immediately and don't give any other information, the patient's going to have a hard time registering that, thinking about that. So you need to be aware of anchoring, show the reasons why it's worth a lot more, but you're actually giving them a deal. And so just being aware of that is important. Reward, that's important for motivating your staff, getting them to recommend the office. There's tons of ways that you can utilize that. Just, if you recommend, if you refer 10 of your patients, or if you get 10 patients to leave reviews on your Google page, whoever gets the most gets this $100 Amazon gift card at the end of the week. People are going to respond to that. So that's just a little bit about psychology. Please go watch the speech that Charlie Munger gave at Harvard. That is critical. So why are we talking about this? So this is critical because if this is missing and you start to market, you start to go out there, you're gonna be hurting. You're not gonna get the amount of results you get. You're not going to get the best bang for your buck. It's not going to go as far. And then this helps you in every area of life. This helps you with communicating with your spouse, with your kids, trying to convince them to eat their vegetables, convince them to go to school if they don't want to. Yes, this is all walks of life. Psychology is necessary. So what are some other reasons you shouldn't market? This is the most, so we talked about more of the strategy. This is more of the tactical side. If you have a poor patient experience, you should not market. Yeah, a little bit weird to hear that from a marketer, but it's just going to be a negative feedback loop. So you're going to bring in people, they're going to come in and something's going to be broken or not as good as it could be. And then they're going to leave, a negative review. They're not going to refer you. And they're just going to build up all this negative reviews, bad press, things that you don't want. So it's important to fix this. If you don't know how to change your patient experience or you don't know what's missing, feel free to survey your staff, survey your patient base. They'll tell you. They'll be honest with you. I made an in-depth video on this. If you want to see it, just go to my channel and search patient experience and it should pop up. Another reason that you shouldn't market, I guess like a symptom of a poor patient experience, is bad reviews. Now, obviously, you're going to get bad reviews if you're If you're Apple, you're going to get bad reviews. If you're Amazon, just only like people are going to hate what you do. They're going to have a bad day. They're going to kind of project that onto you. But if you're getting 30, 40% bad reviews they're not exceptional, people aren't raving about you, then it's going to affect you. Another symptom of a poor patient experience is a low referral rate. So I like to use this quote here by Dr. Abernathy, excuse me. Those of you who don't know, let me kind of talk about him for a second. He is a dentist down in Texas. He gets 250 to 300 new patients a month. 250 to 300. So this is what he's saying about his practice. So I'm not doing any marketing if you're not getting at least a 50% referral rate. This is from one of his ebooks. Highly suggest it. I might have a link in the description below. Key things to remember here. Don't market if you don't understand psychology. You don't have a grip on it. You're not aware of how this is affecting you. And you shouldn't market if you have a poor patient experience. Kind of goes without saying, but some people needed to hear that. So now that we got that stuff out of the way, let's take a look at what we're going to talk about for the rest of this time. So this is the house. So we talked about the foundation, if you will. Now we're moving on to the actual house. So this is the framing, the drywall, what else goes in a house? Insulation, that's HVAC. Those are things that go in a house. I should not be in construction. Anyway, so we're talking about the online presence. So just kind of like everything else, this is the foundation of the house. This is the framework. See advertising as the drywall. See the sales process as amenities, carpet, paint, all that. I'm really dying on the hill here at the house analogy. Bear with me. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to start at the bottom and go upwards from there. One thing I want to mention about online presence is this is necessary. Obviously, this is necessary before you advertise. Advertising is necessary before you refine your sales process. So it's important to go in this order. It's important to pay attention to the triangle. The pyramid scheme, no, I'm just kidding. So let's just start at the online presence. So I talk a lot about this in an ebook that I made. Feel free to grab that, take a guess, in the description below. We'll send you right to my website. You just throw in your information and then it throws it to another web page. That's very specific. Yeah, you can find it. You're a big boy. You found this video, so you can probably find the PDF if you want it. So let's talk about a solid website. Now, this is the crux of your experience as a dentist. If you don't have a solid website, if you don't have a home base, if you will, it's going to be, you're not going to have the motivation to do anything else. So what does an important website or a good website have? The key thing I want to mention here is quality personal pictures. I cannot tell you how many times you go to a dental website. I've been on literally thousands, reviewing them, sending them off to people. That was kind of before I started doing YouTube. Anyway, having quality personal pictures of yourself, of your staff, of the office, it does separate you. If you have stock photos of, we've all seen it, the cheesy family, like they're at the beach and there's like the kids and they've never met each other. The first time they saw each other was like a couple hours ago and they're smiling. And it's like, it paints you in a bad light. It comes off as cliche. Even if they don't think this right off the bat, the way you separate yourself is hiring a photographer, pay the $300 for them to come in, get pictures, and to separate yourself online. This is a great way for you to project warmth, especially if you do a video introducing yourself, talking about topics in which patients can relate to. This is critical. This is what's gonna begin to separate you from someone that just has stock photos and the classic, like the only personal picture on their website is a headshot of you guys or the dentist, like not really smiling, just kind of showing their teeth, but not actually happy. Critical. Some other things to have on a solid website. You need to have social proof. So one great way you can do this, I'm going to talk about it here in a minute, is testimonials. What I've seen effective is having the amount of Google reviews you have on your website. I'm sure there's extensions you can get or plugins you can get on WordPress. If that doesn't make any sense, just ask your web developer if you can find a way to sync the Google reviews on with your website. Having specific, another thing about social proof is it's important to have, I have it here. We have logos, associations, alma maters, awards. This is how you, going back to I'm kind of jumping over the place right now, all over the place. Going back to the cognitive biases I talked about in the beginning of the video, social proof, authority bias, this is how you do it on a website. So having reviews, having people talk about you, especially if it's something specific, something that other people can relate to. If you have highlighted in one of the reviews, like I was very scared about coming into Dr. Smith's office, but he was, the best dentist of my life. You want something that's specific, excuse me, if you have it. Logos, this is important if you work with any associations, the ADA, if you work with, if you get training from another dental organization on top of what you're already doing, showing those logos is powerful. Even if it's common among dentists, it's not common among patients. They're not really aware of the qualifications that it takes. So just showing like your alma mater, showing those associations that you're involved with, any awards that you may have or get, having that in one place on the footer of your website, subconsciously that's powerful, because not a lot of dentists, even if they have that stuff, they don't show it, which they should show it on a website. Patient testimonial videos, this is important. This is superior to just having text written out, obviously. Where the internet is going is purely video based. So you're going to be ahead of your curve. You're going to be ahead of your time if most of your website is videos. If it's an office tour, if it's meeting you and your staff, if it's a patient testimonial videos, this is how you kind of step yourself up. And then some other things that are important to have on a website is a Facebook pixel. Tons of videos on YouTube on how to install that on your website. What this does is it allows you to run ads, or excuse me, it doesn't allow you to run ads, but allows you to send ads to people that have seen that page. So you could set up a specific event on your contact page, and you can show ads directly to anyone that's sent you a message via your contact page. Now, this is powerful because it's very specific, it's highly targeted, and these are people that are already interested in coming in. Google Tags Analytics, you should have that on your Google Analytics, you should have on your entire website, and then Google Tags, you can target those specific pages. You can even target if you have different service options, which you should for SEO in your menu, targeting those, having a tag for different services, so you can show ads directly to people that are looking up dental implants by bidding 20% more. I'm getting really into detail right now, but this is just good to have. Just send the screenshot to your web developer saying, do we have it? Do we not? But anyway, this is another key point I want to mention. Kind of sounds weird, kind of sounds foo-foo, if you will, but how does your website make you feel? This is kind of what I was trying to stress at the beginning of the video. If you come to a website, you see stock footage, you see kind of like bland text, not really compelling copy or words, if you will, it's going to have an effect on you, even just subconsciously. If you go above and beyond on your website, people see that, they see videos, everyone's excited to be there, everyone's smiling, they're all having a good time. Maybe you film it on Friday. That's maybe a little tip. But if you film that and put that on your website, it's going to encourage that emotional response that's required in sales for someone to know, like, and trust you. That's critical. All right. We are on to the next stage. So what is this? This is the drywall. I'm sorry. I have to keep bringing it up. So do you guys like my snake plant? It's kind of like growing out. I want to figure out how to grow it like more straight. Tips would be, if you guys have a snake plant, please let me know, because I want some tips. Anyway, so let's talk about advertising. So in this section, we're talking about Google ads and Facebook ads specifically. So kind of the strategies, the overarching view of advertising, wanted to really stress these 3 key points. I've done videos just on these key points. So first is creative is king. A creative, for those of you who don't know, is the photo or the video that you use in an ad. Now this is only applicable to Facebook, but I wanted to mention this. If you don't have compelling creative, this is why it's important to have that video content or a vault of video content, if you will. You can use it to run ads. Running stock photos, running stock footage on Facebook, you're just not going to do as well than having personalized professional content. Another key with that is the 3-second rule. This is from Brendan Kane's book, Hook Point. For those of you who don't know, Brendan Kane, he was a marketer for MTV, for Taylor Swift, for, I believe, Warner Brothers, very sophisticated in the world of marketing. And his whole concept of the book, Hook Point, was when someone's scrolling on their phone, people scroll through on average 100 feet of content a day. So you only have, when someone actually crosses your post, crosses your ad, you really only have 3 seconds to get their attention. So you can have everything else right. You can have an amazing website, you can have all this SEO figured out, but when it comes to running ads, if you're not able to get their attention in 3 seconds, like hook them in to buy another, 10 seconds of their time, then you're not going to be successful when you're running ads, period. So that's critical. Another thing is to lead as the expert. What a lot of dentists do is they are offer driven, or they just advertise an offer. What that typically does is attract those price shoppers, the types of patients that a lot of dentists complain about when they market, and it's because they're advertising, and the focus of the advertisement is on the low price. It's on the $49 for a new patient cleaning and exam. It's on the $19 exam and x-rays. That works, but you're going to attract a different patient, if you will, especially when it comes to the higher ticket services like the full arches and even just the single implants. It's critical to separate yourself as an expert. And there's ways you can portray yourself as an expert when you're running ads. A popular way to do this is by having a Q&A, a session where you just answer the top 5 questions that someone would have when it comes to the decision-making process. Wanted to stress these things before we get into Facebook ads and Google ads. All right. So this is probably why most of you guys came. We're finally here. And I do this full time. I don't know how far we're into this video yet. How far are we? Let's take a look for fun. We're a ways into this video right now. And I'm just talking about details now. I want to stress that point. That's really important. Yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Facebook ads. Oops. Boom. All right. Most important part, as I said before, is creative. So the way your Facebook ad is set up, if you don't know, you have I'm going to use my hand. This is not very effective. You have your personal picture, or your little profile picture as a circle. You have who the profile is from. You have your copy or your initial text. You have the picture here in my palm. Don't know why I'm using my hand. And then you have the headline. So typically the eye path, they've tracked this. They've actually done a study on it, which I find kind of funny because it's kind of obvious. People look at, obviously, the picture first, your creative. They typically read the headline next, and then they go up to the first line of the copy. So the reason the creative is the most important part, it's the first impression someone gets when they look at the post. Don't know why I use my hand. Anyway, creative is critical. It's important. If you're not able to get someone's attention in the 3 seconds, you're done. I don't want to say you're screwed because I've used that before on this channel. We gotta evolve. All right, let's look at the specific hierarchy of Facebook ads. So we have the campaign. This is everything else fits into the campaign. Then we have ad sets, and then we have ads. So obviously, all your ads are going to fit into an ad set. So you can have multiple ads, multiple ad sets, and then multiple campaigns. But it's kind of like the Russian dolls. The ads have to fit in the ad sets have to fit in the campaigns. Just for anyone that doesn't know that. Okay, so campaign. So this is critical because this is where you set your objective. This is where you tell Facebook what you want them to do. So if you're running, one of the ways I do this is I run traffic to a messenger bot. It's a little more advanced, but you would set the Facebook objective to messages instead of something else. If you're sending them to just a lead form, which I do not suggest, then you can select the objective lead form or website or anything else. There's different categories that you can pick or choose with. All right, let's talk about the ad set. So this is why people use Facebook to advertise in the first place. Facebook has one of the biggest, I don't want to say data centers. They have the most data about people than almost any other website. So what they do is, if you're not aware of this, there's documentaries on this that are actually really fascinating. They actually sell your information to advertisers in order to, for market research, to advertise to. There's the documentary, it was on Netflix. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but very interesting. Anyway, so this is where you set your targeting. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can set up a location targeting, and that's just you set a radius around your practice, and then you show ads to people that are within 15 to 2 miles of your practice, depending on how dense the population is around your dentistry, your practice. That was kind of redundant. So that's one way, is location. Another way you can target people is through interest-based. This is really only applicable to e-commerce if you're selling something online. When it comes to just having the amount of people within that radius, there's not a lot of people to begin with, so you don't really need to pay attention to targeting. Some advertisers on YouTube talk about how you should target people that have interest in teeth whitening. If you're just marketing locally, I think that's kind of BS. I think it was an excuse just to make a video about it. I'm not going to mention it. I actually don't know. The name escapes me, which is a good thing. Anyway, so that's another way, is interest-based. Another type of targeting that you can do, which is the most powerful, is you can use a custom audience. So this is the best way you can target. So what you do is you first set your location to, let's say 10 miles as a radius. The next thing you do is you take your patient list, let's say you're marketing, let's say implants for this example. So you take a list of your patients that have gotten implants done, that have actually gotten the procedure done. And you take their first name, like just all the information that you can get on them. And so you take their first name, their email, their phone, and they're not seeing any ads. What you're doing is you're giving Facebook this information. They're also really good at, I guess, defending this information from hackers or scammers, so you don't need to freak out about having a breach in HIPAA or anything else. But So you give Facebook, or you send it via spreadsheet. And then what Facebook does is it pulls commonalities or characteristics of those people on Facebook. And then what it does is it creates an avatar or the perfect patient for implants in your area. That's really powerful. So let's say you have a list of, the more the better. Let's say you're doing a lot of volume. Excuse me. You have a list of 200 patients. You take those patients, Facebook looks at them, and then look at all these data points of their interests, their activity on Facebook, all these different things, and creates an avatar. And then with that avatar, Facebook then, when you're running ads, it tries to match the avatar to people. So it shows ads to people that fit that characteristic the most. I hope that was clear enough. So that's really powerful. That's kind of what I wanted to mention about ad sets. Feel free to ask me any questions if that was kind of all over the place and confusing. So that's critical, because then you're just allowed to help more people. You're allowed to find people that are already looking for implants and show ads to them. I kind of beat that question to death. All right, so that was ad sets. Let's talk about, oh yeah, and then I mentioned that there. So ads. So this is where your rubber meets the road, if you will. This is where you're going to actually upload the final link. This is where we're going to actually upload the video or the picture. Put in the copy. Copy is just the writing that's done in an ad. Put in the headline, put in all that good stuff, and test that. So that's kind of Facebook ads from a 30,000 foot view. That's what I like to say a lot. So now we're going to move over to Google Ads. This is going to be more the tactical side. So before we kind of jump into looking at the hierarchy of Google Ads, it's important to remember two different things. So first is quality score, and second is your copy. Now, copy is kind of self-explanatory. It's very self-explanatory. If you don't have a compelling headline, if you don't have compelling text on your ad, then people aren't going to click. So that's first and foremost. Actually, I would switch these two. I would switch copy and quality score. Quality score is a concept I want to get into. We'll just kind of jump into this right now. So relevancy score or quality score. Oh, this should not be relevancy. This should be quality. Anyway, so what quality score is Google had a meeting internally. They talked about Google Ads and kind of the direction they wanted to take it. They decided that instead of just trying to make the most amount of money as possible, they're going to prioritize user experience over making as much money as possible. Are they sticking to that now? I don't know. Don't sue me. No, I can't be sued for that. Anyway, I guess defamation. They'd have to prove that they lost revenue from me saying that, which is crazy. That was a side note. That was really random. Anyway, with your quality score, so Google then looks for a couple different characteristics of if your ad is relevant to the user in order to have their user experience be superior to their profitability. So they look for a couple different things. They look at your click-through rate, your keyword relevancy, meaning how connected, how related is your copy with the keywords that you're bidding for. We'll get into this in a second. Historical account performance. I have these listed here. Landing page quality. Is the language on your landing page relevant or the same as your copy? And then ad relevancy. Are people engaging with it? Are they? What's the overall experience of that? Kind of summed into one. So that's your quality score. That's important to keep in mind, because if you have a low quality score, this is interesting. So if you have a low quality score and you have the highest bid, okay, let me explain how Google Ads works. I should have had a slide here explaining the concept of Google Ads. So the way Google Ads works is it's kind of like an auction. So with an auction, you have different bidders. These are the different advertisers. And what they're doing is they're bidding to show up in the search ranking. So Google takes a look at your quality score, and they take a look at your bid. And they do a bunch of math and they figure out who has the top slot, who gets the next slot, and then some people don't even get on the page. So if you have a low bid and you have a low quality score, the likelihood of you getting on all of the search terms or all of the chances or potential auctions someone is, or all those different auctions, then you're not going to show up on the page. So it's kind of weird because a lot of people just see Google as a search engine, but I want to encourage you to start to see it as an auction. Every time you search something is a potential auction. It's a potential for someone to advertise, which is kind of a weird way to see it. Anyway, relevancy score is important because if you neglect this, if this is all neglected and you have a really high bid, you could actually be below someone that has a lower bid than you, but a higher quality score. So you can actually save a lot of money by just playing by the rules, playing in the way of which Google wants you to play, and yeah, kind of going from there. Let me know if you have any questions about that in the comment section. All right, let's kind of look at the structure. So with Google Ads, we have the campaign with the ad groups, and then we have this is messed up. We have the campaign, we have the ad groups, the keywords go into the ad groups, and then we have the ads themselves. So kind of similar to Facebook in terms of the hierarchy there. So in terms of the campaign, this is where you set a couple different things. This is where you set your location, your budget, and your bid strategy. In terms of your bid strategy, there's different ways for you to bid on an auction or to bid on a potential search. I'm kind of getting a little more detailed, but you can limit how much you bid or how much your cost per click is going to be. There's ways you can give Google the reins to bid for you. The reason I bring this up is a lot of people just kind of hand their money over to Google by picking one of the more automated forms of bid strategy. There's different advertisers believe, I guess, different philosophies when it comes to the the intentions of Google, the motives that they could have. Google's a business, they want to make money. If you choose an automated bidding strategy, then odds are they're going to spend more money for you. Wanted to mention that. All right, let's move on to ad groups. How we doing? Ooh, this is long. This is gonna be my longest video so far. Maybe I'll beat this one day, but we'll see. All right, ad groups. So what I suggest, there's different ways to set up your Google Ads account. One of the best ways is to break it down by whatever service you want to advertise. So I was just having a separate ad group for implants, separate ad group for root canals, separate ad group for teeth whitening. Whatever services you want to offer, think about those and then spread those out into the different ad groups. Now, ad groups, this is where you pick your keywords. This is where you bid on specific keywords. So kind of jumping back to the overview, if you will. So Google is an auction. And so with those keywords, choosing different keywords, you're choosing the likelihood or the amount of auctions that you can be in. Meaning if you have 15 keywords in an ad group, you're more likely to show up on a search ranking than if you just had 5, if that makes sense. So the interesting thing about Google Ads in general is there's I guess a limited number of auctions. Now, the amount of times people search on Google for these particular terms is usually more than you need in order to be concerned, but it's just important to keep in mind that different keywords put you in more auctions, if that makes sense. So there's different ways for you to show up in one of these auctions. One is through match types. We're getting into this right now. I hope you guys are tracking. I should have asked you to take notes, but anyway, so with match types, this allows you to really figure out how Google puts you in the auction. So if you do broad match type, you're really giving a lot of control over to Google, because let me just use an example. If you say teeth, if that's a keyword, teeth, and it's as broad matched, and someone types into Google anything related to teeth in your specific region or area, you could potentially be shown your ad. So if someone types in why are teeth white, then you could potentially be shown in that auction, but you wouldn't want to. And the reason being is someone that types in why are teeth white into Google doesn't necessarily want to come into an office. They're just curious. So this is where you got to use your brain. You got to think about, why would someone type in this specific keyword into Google? And so you can be more specific. You can say, a keyword that everyone uses is dentist near me. So when someone types that into Google, odds are they're a lot more serious about finding a dental office than someone that just types in why are teeth white or how many teeth are in the adult mouth. Something just out of curiosity as opposed to something with specific intent. This is a difference between Google ads and Facebook ads. With Google ads, you're advertising to people that have expressed some level of intent in your service in coming in because they had to take the time to look you up specifically, or to look for a search result that's similar to what you're offering, if that makes sense. With Facebook, it's interruption based. So when someone goes on their phone and they're scrolling, they're not looking for coming into an office at that time. They're just trying to waste some time. Maybe they're on break at work. Maybe they're trying to go to bed and they can't, so they're just on their phone scrolling. So those are two separate pillars, if you will. There's two separate games, if you will, when it comes to advertising. Anyway, so we talked about, I think we mentioned everything here. Boom. All right, let's talk about ads. So now we get more into the nitty gritty, if you will. So we have your copy. This is where you put in the headline. You write the description for what people are actually going to see when they search for something on Google. And then you put the final link URL. So two things I want to mention. Be careful what link you put in, because Google Ads sends crawlers to actually go to that web page and then search for the keywords that are in your ad set. So just be mindful of that. You maybe want to optimize your landing page, optimize your I'm going to talk about landing pages here in a second. Keep that in mind as you're putting in the final URL. Copy, this is important. What I encourage you to do is to look at what other people are doing, kind of find out who is ranking the highest in Google Ads in your area. Find out why. Is it a certain phrase or certain term that they're saying, or why are they the highest? And then from there, how can you differentiate yourself and become better than that dentist by showing another side? So if someone is talking about, low price, they're just, this amount for a consultation or this amount for x-rays and exams, you can then come and take a different approach. You can take the quality strategy or the quality slant to it. So there's obviously different ways to do that, but that's really done in the strategy phase, really thinking about how this all kind of flows together. All right, we are on to a bonus section. Very excited for this bonus section. I actually threw this in a couple minutes before I started to film this. I had everything set, and I was like, I feel like I'm missing some landing pages. So landing pages, they're not every dentist is in a place to need a landing page. If you're just marketing on Facebook, you can get away with what I call a messenger chatbot, or not get away with. You can be successful in just running traffic to the messenger bot, which I didn't talk about in this presentation. I might make another one of these if you guys react. If there's likes. Feel free to like the video if you're enjoying this. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, bonus section, landing pages. Let's jump right into it. Another thing to remember is go back to the 25 cognitive biases. What I encourage you to do is to read through them, read through each one, and really think about, okay, how can I make this a reality on my page? Great example is just Amazon. Looking at the way they structure things, how they mention things, even just the urgency that they have of, or scarcity of, only 2 left in stock. Like, you think about how massive, how big Amazon warehouses, like, do you really think they only have 2 left? And then they just say 2 left, and then they're just gonna replace it later. So they use that as a form of scarcity because it works. And then urgency is, if you order by this time, I don't know if they still do this. If you order by midnight tonight, it will be here by Tuesday or whatever a few days is. Yeah, so remember the 25 cognitive biases. Look at some of the other leaders in the e-commerce space, see what they're doing, learn from them. Little side note here is one of the big takeaways. I talked about this earlier in some of my videos, was Jeff Bezos' obsession with Sam Walton. So Jeff Bezos is founder of Amazon. Sam Walton was the founder of Walmart. You think about the billions of dollars that their net worths are worth. I believe Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. So he did something right in terms of a business. He has a website. So take a look at his website. Think about why he's doing things the way he's doing. I really learned from him. And even I would encourage you to do some competitor analysis. I know it sounds like I'm rambling because I don't have slides for this, but this is critical as well. You really got to figure out where you fit in the market. What is Dr. Joe Blow down the street doing? Maybe not Joe. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Dr. Joe. What is Dr. Joe doing down the street? Why is he getting, more patients than you? Why is he doing worse? You really got to be aware of your market. You got to be aware of why these things are happening. So use me saying this as an excuse to spend 10 minutes on your admin day or throughout the week, just searching, just looking at some of the other practices in your region. Why are they doing things this way? Are they successful with it? And just, you can learn so much from that. All right. So should have everything on a great website. So the reason you use a landing page is people aren't going to take the time. When's the last time you've gone to a website and you've clicked through every single page? You looked at all the information on every single page of the website. Odds are you haven't, or at least you haven't done it in a while. So the beauty of a landing page is you get all the most important information on one page so people can just read it, make a decision, and either decide to submit their information or not. Excuse me. That is a perk of doing it over just sending Google Ads traffic to your website. I don't suggest that, especially your homepage. That's just a marketing sin. You shouldn't do that. All right, let's talk about sales process. So this is the pinnacle of what we are sharing today. Everything has been leading up to this moment. So you have a beautiful website. You're projecting warmth. You have quality personal pictures. You're posting on regularly, goodness, on your social media, on Facebook, maybe Instagram for a little more young or sophisticated. And then you have advertising. You have traffic coming in. You're getting leads. You're advertising on Facebook or Google or whatever best way you see fit, and you're getting people to come in. So now you have people coming into the office, let's say for implants, but they're not signing up. You're having other issues. So let's take a look. So I made an in-depth video, how to double your implant production. Shameless plug right now. What I suggest you do is take a look at what ClearChoice is doing. For those of you who don't know, ClearChoice has worked with over 90,000 implant patients, not bread and butter patients. These are all implant patients that have given, 90,000 implant people have given their money. Different cases. Think about this. 90,000 people have gone into this office or offices around the US and paid for an implant operation at clear choice. That is insane. They obviously have a system that's working. They have a system that is producing results. Let's not try and build our own thing. Let's take a look at what they're doing, and let's see if we can benefit from it. So this is how we, I guess, copy them. And obviously, the way that they're selling is ethical. It's kind of sad you have to say sales and being ethical in the same sentence. Sales has such a negative connotation to it for good reason, for people abusing or manipulating people in the 80s, anywhere from car lots to insurance. Anyway, so make sure you're doing this in an ethical manner. So Clear Choice is doing very specific things during this appointment. I can make a very in-depth video on this if you want. Just suggest it in the comments below. But they do a couple of different things. One is pre-framing. So they do a wonderful job at not only service by they have what's called an implant concierge. I don't think that's the official term, but they have someone that brings you around to all the different aspects. You meet with the with the dentist, and they have a treatment coordinator, and it's very laid out. It's very systematic. It's very intentional. But with that, they have the service of just having someone there with them at all times to answer any questions, to help build that relationship, help to build that trust before they make that buying decision. No, like, and trust. Anyway, another thing that they're doing is they have a compelling case. They have a compelling, not argument, but they're really aware of how they present the actual implant case. I wish I don't have the specific information. I can go hunting for it if you want me to. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Anyway, but they have a compelling case that's worked for 90,000 people. I just want to stress that enough. It's like, why try and do things your own way in what you think could work when you can just go straight to the top, learn from that, and then just implement that a lot easier. And then you can even do it better. You can take their, I don't know how long they've been in business. I think 18 years. You can take that 18 years of experience and just condense that. And even if you don't do implants, use their process for root canals or your teeth whitening service or Invisalign. For Invisalign, I suggest looking at Smile Direct Club, or because they have other consultations. What I'm trying to say, go to the top, learn from them. You should be good. Wow, we did so much. I think we're just over an hour now. I might have to edit some stuff out, some blunders out. But I hope you enjoyed this video. To recap, we're gonna fly through everything in a couple seconds here. So we built the foundation. So we built something even under this. Should you even market in the first place? We talked about the necessary psychology that you need to know when you're marketing. I talked about where to find that. Go look at Charlie Munger's hour-long video, the Harvard lecture that I was talking about. So we talked about psychology. We talked about improving your patient experience. If you have a referral rate below 50%, you should not be marketing in the first place. There's ways to raise that. I made a video, shameless plug, on that you can watch on my channel. I think it's how to improve your patient experience. And then once we got that out of the way, okay, we're all set to go to market. We looked at the online presence. So we looked at having a solid website, having a solid web presence on the internet, on the interweb, if you will. Kind of everything. To summarize this, we talked about projecting warmth, projecting cold, which you already naturally do as a dentist. If you want to learn more about that in particular, I do have the How to Dominate. It's been a while. You can find it on my website in the description below. You guys know how to find it. I believe in you. So we talked about that. For advertising, we mentioned Facebook ads, Google ads, went really into depth about that, even talked about landing pages, what's necessary on that. So we got that out of the way. I don't know why I'm using this so much. I wish I could like reach over the infographic. Anyway, and then we talked about sales process. So what can you do to have an effective presentation when you're presenting the information to get patients to sign up for care? That is also a critical. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. We did it. We made it. I don't know if this was useful. It should be, because this is, I mean, everything I've learned up until this point, for the most part. There's still, I didn't mention the ManyChat sequence, which I can get into detail. I didn't really go into detail about a lot of things. But if you want me to go into more detail, let me know in the comment section below. If you want help for your practice, if you're kind of throwing up your hands or like, Dawson, this is great, I don't want to do this on my own, feel free to schedule a consultation with me in the description below. There's a link to my calendar. Feel free to find a time that works. It's going to be a one-on-one, a Zoom call with me. We'll sit down, we'll talk about your marketing situation. We'll see, should you even be marketing? Should you even be talking to me in the first place? And if it sounds like I can help you, then we'll go from there. But if not, I will give you the best advice that you could possibly get at that moment in time from me personally. And I will send you on your merry way. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a lot of fun filming this. I might do another longer video in the future. I have my email in the description below. If you have any questions that you want to ask me directly that you don't want anyone else to find out about, feel free to like the video. I put some work into this. Let me know if you want some more of these types of videos, and I will talk to you soon.